something out of the way. If you have an emergency, you feel free to just take off, okay? Any kind of problems that you might have, personal or whatever else, any kind of emergency, if you're alone at in your house and there's a break-in or something happens, call 911, okay? Protect yourself, that's the first thing. I always wanna say that. I am in Mexico City. I am not able to actually communicate with the outside world in the United States directly. Also, Jesse is here, so if you have something there and if you feel unsafe, you can always enter something into the chat, okay? Just put that out there for you. Because I know we have a lot of underage students, so just be aware. All right, next, who am I? Well, first of all, welcome. I'm going to teach you how to do stop motion animation. I'm going to teach you how to do animation in general, okay? Because all the principles that we're going to apply here are going to be able to translate into, in fact, let me turn my fan down on my computer. They're going to be able to translate into the animation world as a spectrum. What is a spectrum? So a spectrum is like when you see a rainbow, all the many different colors of the rainbow. Well, I'm going to teach you pretty much a couple colors, and those colors also will meaning styles, techniques, and those will be able to branch out across a wide spectrum of different styles of stop motion or animation in general, like hand-drawn animation or even CGI animation. There's a lot of different kind of stuff. So now, who am I? So I am John Ikuma. I am a 20+ year veteran of animation. My first job was actually in animation was a Foley artist sound designer for the Simpsons television show. And what does that mean? Well, I was apprentice. What does that mean is I was taught how to do sound effects for the Simpsons. I was actually on the Simpsons. I don't have credit because I wasn't a union member, but I did get the work experience for 3 years and a number of other television shows. Was it Simpsons, Futurama, PJ's, Dilbert, and King of the Hill, and a couple others. From there, I became an audio engineer and I got into the music industry. I was already in the music industry. I was a signed artist as a teenager, but I got into the music industry as an audio engineer and got into marketing and also other stuff. And in that transition, I was learning animation and self-teaching, and also went to college for film, animation, music videos, commercials. And now, and then I worked for about 10 years, a little bit longer, on television production and feature film production, being either an animator or a visual effects artist. So, and some of the shows I was on was like Robot Chicken. I did Blank Animation Love Story with Disney. I actually did 3 different projects with Disney. And I was lead visual effects artist, senior visual effects artist on the Aquabat Super Show. So I'm trying to name some stuff that you might know. So let's get started. First off, what is stop motion? Well, what is animation in general? Animation is the technique of taking, well, the traditional form is taking a photograph of a character or an object and moving it, and taking another photograph and moving it, and taking another photograph and moving it, and so on and so forth. And that's called stop motion. It's a photographic technique. We can do that with anything. We can do that with ourselves. We can do that with your friends, your family, pieces of paper, soup cans, soda cans, whatever you want. You can animate anything. Clay. LS says Legos and NASCARs. Yes, I actually have a little Lego guy for us today. And I'm going to also do a couple things with you today. I'm going to first off talk about the software and how you're going to set up your shots. I have my camera I can move around. You look at my office here. I actually have an animation stage here. It's a little messy. I have to clean it up because I have another class after our class. But this is an animation stage. It's compact for me to use in my little office. But I've animated on really big stages in warehouses. So just so you know. And basically, I can light my stage and I can animate my characters here and I can build sets and whatever else. And then a computer over here to be able to control my camera. And then my camera right there in the center, right there. That's what's called a DSLR. All right. And then I have these kind of lights here. I'm going to actually plug this in a minute and then start animating for you guys once we get our software set up. So what do you need for our project is actually, or for our class, is fairly simple. And for any future kind of thing, I'm going to give me a second here. Let me get to the website. And you might hear my son crying in the background. He's almost 2 years old and he is a terror. So if you hear screaming, that's my son. Okay. All right, for us, let me share my screen here. There we are. Okay, So this software here is called Stop Motion Studio, and you can get this software online for free. It goes on iPads. It can go on, I think you can do Kindle Fires, Mac OSs, Androids, and Windows. So if you're using a computer, you can definitely get this for free. If you're using iPads, iPhones, Android phones, little Android phones, you can put it on there and you can use this software. Today, I'm going to use an iPad, and I'm going to show you my setup in a minute. What this software does is it allows you to capture frames and to play back the animation. You can do a little editing in here with the paid version. I think the paid version is about $5. But to just do this class, you don't need, or do these exercises or whatever, you don't need to pay for it. You can just get the free version. I'm using the free version today in our class, so I'll show you the limitations. Yeah, and the actual website is called, it's a weird name, honestly. It's called cateater.com. There are a bunch of other softwares out there, but this is the one that I suggest you start off with. I also will probably be using Dragon Frame. Dragon Frame is a professional level stop motion software. And this is what all the studios, Artemin, Leica Studios, all the big guys, they use this. Big guys and gals. You can actually see right here. I know the owners of this company. I communicate with them quite often. And I forgot to mention, I own Stop Motion Magazine and I run Stop Motion University. So those are the two things also to kind of mention about me. And you basically hook up a DSLR like I have in the background, and you control your camera through this software and you capture frames. It's strictly just a frame grabbing software, just like the Cat Eater Stop Motion Studio software. Okay, it looks like we might have a question here. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people use, perfect. We have some people that use the paid version and some people that use Legos. Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna stop my share and put in the chat or wave your hand if you have done some stop motion before. Let me know. Okay, perfect. I see Debbie H over there. That's cat there, so hands waving. Nice. Great. Yeah, stop motion is a lot of fun. It's fairly straightforward. You don't have to get kind of crazy with it, or you can get really crazy with it. All right, any questions before we start also? Okay, somebody's a total noob. That's fine. Somebody's done it for about 2 years. Great. Awesome. And then maybe some of you might have some YouTube channels. It's really helpful to kind of create your own YouTube channel and to put your own individual animations up there. Integrate your kind of ideas and concepts that you have. It's kind of cool. All right, so let's do this. Let me go and show you what kind of cameras you can use beyond the iPads and iPhones real quick. So that you have a number of selections for cameras. You can use a web camera. Let's go here, images, there we go. You can use web cameras, hook them up to your computers. Some of them actually will connect to, if you get wireless ones, they will connect up to iPads. And then also a DSLR, which is a digital camera. These are the professional grade cameras. Let's talk about your lights real quick. I'm gonna zoom through this really fast so you guys kind of get a gist. Desk lamps. So a desk lamp is important. Desk lamps will actually allow you to light your scene. You need to be able to light your scene. If you don't, you have kind of problems with, how do you say, the environment kind of making flicker in your image. That's because your exterior is always influencing. The outside lights are always influencing, or even your room lights are always influencing the way that you capture light. You need light to be able to bounce off an object to record into the camera. There are also LED panel lights. You'll see me using panel lights. All right, there we go, LED panel lights. Well, it's these guys here, these kind of guys here. And the reason I use these is more professional grade. I can adjust the temperature. In fact, I have this kit here. They get expensive. Let's talk about light bulbs real quick. LED light bulb. So if you're going to have a light bulb, you want to use something like an LED light bulb. The reason is because they don't flicker. Okay. Flicker will be a problem when you're animating. Now, if we go to, what is it called? Fluorescence, forgive my spelling. Fluorescent light bulbs, we do not want to use these because they will flicker. They actually are on a cycle. There's a little ballast inside of them and they actually cycle at a hertz. It's called hertz, electrical flow. So don't use these type of lights. They're not good for your animation. And then finally we have incandescent. There we go. And these will work. So if you can get access to these, you can use these. They can flicker a little bit, just be aware. And flicker is that shifting in the light. So when the light shifts, you're gonna see that. All right, let's talk about clothes here real quick. So a lot of people, when they get into the animation hobby or professionally, they wear the wrong clothes. And what are the right clothes and what are the wrong clothes? And why do clothes even matter? What, it doesn't matter really what you wear? Yes, you need to wear dark clothes. And why do you wear dark clothes? Just like if you're gonna sculpt, you're gonna have to wear an apron. Well, when you animate, you're gonna have to wear a special type of color. And the color has to be dark. And why does the color have to be dark? Because if you wear white, the light will bounce off your white shirt and hit your animation. And as you move through the room, you're gonna cause flicker. So you always wanna wear like dark clothes, okay? That's a quick one. What is the other thing I need to tell you about? Oh, exterior lights. So here you'll see I have light coming in from outside and I need to block that off. I need to also turn off any lights that I have up above me or in the room. And I wanna just light my stage. Why do I wanna do that? Well, you don't wanna influence, if you have lights coming down or from behind you and you move around, you cause flicker. Also, that light will be uncontrollable because as the energy changes in your, it's called a power grid, but as the energy changes, the electricity flows through these lights, they'll cause flicker and it will drive you crazy when you're trying to animate. The exterior, if you have clouds going by, it's gonna block out the sun and it's gonna shift the light as well. And also as the day goes on, you have light and dark, light and dark. So midday is 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock is the height of the sun and it moves from early morning to nighttime and you'll have a shifting of the light. So you just gotta be aware of that. So I'm gonna close this curtain. Give me a second here. All right, close my curtain. It's not perfect. I usually don't animate in the day unless I'm teaching. I usually animate at night. That way it's nice and quiet and not have to worry about a lot of people and a lot of noise. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my light here. Oops, there we go. Turn that away from you guys so you're not blinded by it. Okay. And then let's look at my animation stage here. So what is this? This is a cardboard stage. Now I can just use the tabletop for anything I want, okay? And it's wobbly. I don't really want that when I'm animating. I want to use maybe a kitchen table or like a table like I have that's over in the corner where I do all my animation at. But this one's made out of cardboard. And all I did was I cut the cardboard, the box, I cut it here, a little Amazon box. And then I made stands here, okay? And I can stick my hand through here to animate. And then I can use my iPad here. There's a hole in the top. And I can use my iPad camera. Let me take this piece off of here. And in the camera right there, I can stick this. All right, I can stick this right here. And let's open my software. Now I'm gonna go over here and hopefully I can adjust it for you. There we go. You'll see my pad. You do not have to use a down shooter. I'm gonna switch between the down shooter. This is called a down shooter. It's between the down shooter and whatever else. Okay, let's check out a little animation that I kind of did just for fun in another class I was teaching. Oops, we dismissed that. And we're gonna hit play here. You can see a little animation going on here. Okay. If I hit stop, let's go through the interface. I'm gonna go back. Okay. Now this is the stop motion studio software. Move that over here, drop that down a little bit more so we're not blinded by it. Give me 1 second. Let's turn that down. There we go. Okay. So the stop motion studio software is really straightforward. For one, you would start a project by just going new movie. Okay. And it should actually flip my camera around. What happened here? Let's see. I don't have enough light. No, it's doing my upper one. Oh, I'm not on the thing. Here we go. Gotta get my camera in the right position. There we go. All right, so I have my little stage here and it wobbles. Like I said, you don't want that. You want to have a nice steady space. when you're doing stuff like I do, I'm usually using my desktop and my other stage, which is made out of metal and wood. Okay. All right, so let's get in here. First I want to point out the structure of this. Let's go down because I'm missing something here. Try to get you a good position so you can actually see what's going on here. And there we are. Okay. All right. So focus my camera here so you can see. All right. And let's tie that off. Tightening everything up for you guys so that nothing shifts. All right. Come on. There we are. All right. So first things first, we can record here with this little button here. That's to take a frame. There's a playback. These are your settings here. Click on this one. See, yeah, this is your timer. So you can actually set a timer, which we'll cover in a couple minutes. So done. Timer's off. You do time lapse with this one specifically. If we go into our settings here, you can adjust all sorts of different things like your camera, obviously. If you pay the version, if you get the paid version, you can do green screen and remote camera. So you can actually control this with a remote control, which is really useful because if you are trying to do things that don't bounce around, let's say you're touching your camera constantly, touching the table constantly, it's gonna bounce around, it's gonna shift its focus, right? You don't want that. That kind of sucks. And what happens is you get this jittery, bouncy animation. So remote controls actually help a great deal. The other one is this next one. And by the way, you can change which camera you want right here. I can do my front camera, my rear camera. Hello, everybody. Okay, rear camera. All right, let's go here. This is your focus. No, this is not your focus. Sorry. This is your levels. So if I go to auto and I put my hand here, it should adjust and I can click on this. It should be adjusting, right? But it'll auto, how do I say? It'll auto the color balance. It's a little weird. It's kind of, and also it does your focus. So it has auto focus. If I go here, it should focus on my hand. Drop it down, focus down there. Let's see. And if I go here, this is how do I say? It's like auto, but we can also lock it. So if I tap in here and if I tap on the little character right there, or my hand, sorry, it'll focus on my hand. And then when I pull it up, it doesn't shift the focus. You see? So it's just focused on my hand. But if I go here and I do that, now it's focused on my hand. Should be. I'm having a little difficulty there, but you get the point. It should be doing that. So, all right, the next one, and it actually tells you down here what it does. Tap to set lock focus, manual exposure and focus. So if I click on that, let's go over here. See if I can get a nice weird, I might have to increase my light source. There we go. Come on. All right, yeah, so it's focusing in that area. It's supposed to be. In fact, let me grab something here that we can actually look at. It's kind of fun to look at. Grab my little skeleton character. Whoops, dropped my hands. A little skeleton. He'll be a little easier to deal with because he is, he's completely white, which is interesting because we want to balance our whites. So we have this there. Let's go to manual exposure and focus. Here we go. This is the one that I like to use. I can click on the object. Let's see if I can move them up a little bit. I want to shift my focus. My depth of field may be, forgive the expression, but my depth of field may be too shallow for the light. Okay, there we go. Well, anyway, it's focused. So the focus actually will allow me to do that. We go here and you're seeing in your screen, and I see what the problem is. Your screen in my web camera or my capture here is actually different than what I'm seeing on my iPad. My iPad actually looks a lot better than what my camera's displaying just because of the feed of the USB camera. But you get the idea. So you can click through these and get to the different exposure kind of settings. We'll go with manual. All right, and then This is your white balance. So remember when I was talking about white, why white is important? You can adjust your different, your colors. You see if I go through the two different ones. You guys hear my son screaming? Okay, so you can go through the different colors here. And white balance, what it does is, white balance deals with the different types of white in your image. So sometimes, like this one's very blue. If I go to the next one, it makes it more warm. We say warm color. And there's different types. I'm not gonna go too heavy into them, but just know that down here, this little area right here, whoops, sorry, my iPad's being a little funky. This little area here will tell you what the light is. Incandescent bulb, I showed you those. The next one is sunrise, which is actually, it's mislabeled because technically that would be tungsten, which is more of a yellow light. Fluorescence, just in case you have fluorescent lights. Daylight, which is more of a blue light. So it's shifting the yellow more towards blue. And then we have overcast, if you're doing outside, and cloudy, okay? I actually like the sunrise, it's nice and warm. Okay. Turn it this way because we're crooked. There we go, so it's nice and even with you guys. All right, let's go to the next settings. Your focus. So I'm in manual right now. I can actually focus this manually, and you can see right there. And let me grab a little fun thing for you guys. It's right here. Professionally, when we're doing animation, we like to use these little targets. So a target, there's two different sides on this one, right? We'll go on this side so you can see it better. And a target allows us to focus our camera, and you'll see as I'll do the other side because it's easier to kind of see what's going on here. What you want to do is you want to get to the middle of that target, and you can draw these yourself. You don't actually have to buy them. You can just draw them, and it's just a circle with a bunch of points going in. And I can actually shift the focus. And the idea is to get to the center point, and that way you know what your target is. So if we're trying to target this character, he's perfectly targeted. You see? Really fun little simple thing to use. The next one, if we were on autofocus, we could deal with it in that way. So an ISO is, now I have a lot of years in experience using film cameras. And in the old days, we used to use film cameras all the time. We didn't have digital cameras. I'm from a different generation, of course. So you guys now have these numbers to reference the same numbers that we used in film, but they can be a little confusing. So for one, if I go, well, we'll start here. When we used to use film, we would have how fast or how sensitive the film was to light. And in the old days, we would actually use between 100 and 200 would be for outside lights. And then everything up above 200 would actually be for interior lights. So I actually can decrease my light source and get really, really dark with my light source. Okay, but be aware that as you use darker lights, lower light levels, that you may introduce things like your focus may shift. So you might have to refocus. That's one. And then also you may introduce noise into your image because the camera might not be able to absorb all the information from the area. So it may actually add spots all over your stuff. So you need to find a nice healthy balance between the two. So I'm going to increase I actually like to go down here and increase. Okay. About right there. Let's refocus. So I'm looking at I have to look at this way. Use my little target here. There we go. It's hard. I'm looking at our screen and my iPad at the same time. It's a little hard. Okay. The next is the shutter. So a shutter is literally like a hole, and it opens and closes, right? And the shutter dictates how fast that opens and closes. So we can preview what that looks like just by adjusting these, and this will determine how much light is coming in and out, okay? So that shutter speed is important. You just want to find a nice healthy balance, okay? And then we can go here, and this tends to be your focus or your zoom. All right. I just leave it at 1, but you can go 2 and 4. And that's actually a really nice way of focusing too. professionally, what we also do is we can go in here and we can go to our focus and we can actually adjust our focus that way in case we don't have targets. So you zoom all the way in and then you zoom all the way out. So now you know that your target is actually in focus. And then this one here, this just rotates everything, flips it. So, all right, let me go back. I'm going to go back to auto, and I'm going to show you that your settings have completely changed. You don't have the same kind of functions, but you can do your zooms and you can do your flipping. I tend to not like auto because if I start animating and I put my hand here, it keeps shifting the focus. So you don't want to do that when you're animating. You want to stick your hand in the shot, and if it changes its focus, you know that you don't want that. So for instance, I'm focusing on this character and I move him, I take my photograph and then I move, and when I move him, I put my hand in the shot and then I pull it back out, take my next photograph, and you can see it shifted the focus. You don't want that. What you want to do is you want to lock your focus as best you can. So we can lock that. And then now we don't have that. So AL is actually probably the best one, or even manual is probably the best one. Okay. We can do this one too, this P, but it's aperture. It's called aperture priority. It's really what it's called. All right. So we're in manual. I'm gonna hit done. All right. Now, if we go here, these are all different settings. These are your playback settings. This little icon here. Okay, hit that. And we can go to, let's start with the first ones. This is the speed. This is your playback speed. Okay. So when we talk about frames per second, let me think about a way to kind of show you frames per second. In fact, I'm gonna share my screen here. Let me find it first so I can tell you about it. Because frames per second is important because if you take a photograph, oops, that's not what I want. There we go. Courses, beginners courses, and let me see if I can find it. Frames per second is when, so for each frame that we take, it will determine, is that it? No. It'll determine the speed at which we play it back. So for instance, I'll just do it here for you. I swear I had it. I saw it earlier today. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's waveforms. Immediate emails, frames per second. Here we go. Open that up. Share my screen. Okay, you guys can probably see that. All right, so this is frames per second. Let me see if I can increase it for you. No, zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So each one of these little lines is a photograph, okay? And in 1 second, we have 12 photographs. That's why it's 12 frames per second. That's the playback. If we take 24, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 24 through 1 second. 30 frames per second is 30 photographs. And we play that back at 30 frames per second. And then 60 frames per second, and there we go. Same thing. Now, here's a fun fact. When we animate professionally, we animate on what's called 1s and 2s. And what that means is when we're animating, and we'll use 24 frames per second as the example. So when we animate on 1s, we take 1 photograph for each movement, okay? But when we animate on 2s, we take 2 photographs. What does that equal? That's actually 12 photographs it's 24 photographs, but it plays back basically at 12 frames per second. So you can cheat and just do 12 frames per second on your playback. And I'll get more into that in a second as we get into more animation. But let's go through the interface here and we'll get going. So I leave my settings at 12, but you can go up to whatever you want, okay? And we'll tell you down here what the frames per second is, okay? Let's go to the next one. All right, these are fades. These are for your cross edits. If you're gonna do editing pieces together, you can fade in and fade out. It's up to you. Aspect ratios. So if you're shooting on let's say you're doing a TikTok video, okay? Because you can do these, you can do TikToks if you have TikTok or Instagram, and you can set it like this, and this is basically what your camera on your phone does. This is a vertical. If we wanted to do cinema mode, this is a cinema, like what you watch in the movie theaters, like the Avengers or whatever, okay, Marvel movies. This is your default. I have a 16:9. This is what's called HD. And then you have square and all these other settings. I like to just keep mine at default. That's what I use. And you can do your foregrounds and your backgrounds. I'll let you guys explore that all day long if you want. Look, you have to buy that one. But you do have some backgrounds, like this one is for whatever. And then you have your different kind of filters to add to your camera. And I'm not going to get into that. And then there's 4K, which you have to unlock, but you can do SD, HD, HQ, and 4K. And what is 4K? 4K is basically 4,000 by 4,000 pixels. And a pixel is what makes up your image here, all right? And then you can also just do your playback. I have it on loop. There we go. Okay, any questions so far? Go ahead and feel free to type in if you do. Okay, and yes, LS is right. You do have to hit done for it to work, for the focus. Okay, great. All right, now let me talk to you really quick about, I'm gonna share my screen again. Let me, hold on one second. Just go back, where did it go? Oh, shoot, back to meeting. Stop share. Oh, there we are. Whew, I thought I lost you guys for a second. So let me share let me go back here and get to that frame here. Beginner's animation. Courses, there it is. Beginner's animation, and there we go. Okay, share screen, share my desktop for you. Okay. Bring that down, there we are. Close that out. Okay, first off, I'm gonna show you a bouncing ball. Open a preview. Hopefully you guys can see all that. Okay, now, why am I gonna show you a bouncing ball? And I'm gonna actually show you an animation, and we're gonna do this animation really quick so I can talk to you about frames per second and demonstrate that to you. So a bouncing ball is very simple. We can use paper, we can use clay, we can use anything that we want, but the reason why this exercise is important is because it teaches how to get spacing when you animate. Now, there's a thing called easing in and easing out. And I'll get deeper into this in a second, but for the most part, you see that we have a weird arc here. This ball gets here and then it shortens. This is to shorten the length of the distance. And you'll see this in the exercise that I'm gonna do. We're gonna control the weight of the object. This one has a longer elongation of the bounce and more space between. See these little spaces? This one has longer spaces and a squish. So there's a thing called, and some stretching. There's some stretching here. So there's a squash and stretch, all right? And it may, in all honesty, it may get a little boring. You may go, oh God, I don't wanna do that. You don't have to. But this is a really good exercise to be able to understand movement. And why is it important? Well, let's say if you're animating an action figure, stop my share here. And let me share my, my son is screaming. Whew. Okay, but if you're animating and you're animating an action figure, tighten that up for you guys. Let's get some focus going on. And you're gonna see something like, let's say you're throwing a ball or you're throwing a grenade. Hey, who knows? Maybe you're using G.I. Joes and your action figures of some sort. And they're throwing, right? If you go from here to here, that's not gonna work. You go boom, you're not gonna see that movement. So in the frames, you actually have to get a speed up. So 1, 2, 3, bigger, 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 and then elongation. So a ball bounce technique is actually part of that. Is to actually throw something. You use a small, and there's some other things called anticipation where you pull back and you throw. That's another one. We use that a lot with everything. So this basic exercise I'm going to show you is actually the key to becoming a really good animator. If you want to get really, really good, you should understand this basic principle. Okay, let's go back to my share. All right. And let's look at this little ball bounce here real quick. Okay, now you see the ball. It's going boing, 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 right? I'm hopefully gonna animate this a lot better for you than this example. But this example here will actually show you what it looks like to see all the ball movements in space. Now, up here, this upper area where the ball is kind of hanging in time is called hang time. So when it goes up, and if you've ever been thrown up as a baby in the air, if you remember that, or as a kid and you're bouncing on a, well, you guys are kids, you're bouncing on a trampoline, when you get up to that high spot, that is that suspension that where you're almost defying gravity. You're like hanging in the air. As you fall, you build up speed. So your movements get faster and faster. So you get these longer and longer distances until you hit the ground. And when you hit the ground, you bounce back up on that trampoline, right? And you have a little squash. So your knees kind of bend and you go back up. So you got this squashing going. All right. So let's animate that right now. Okay. Let me go to my camera. Yeah, that's my camera right there. Go back here. And let me share one more thing with you before we get started here. Let's go to Google real quick, because you guys definitely probably want to know what kind of materials to use when you're doing these kind of things. You can use literally anything you want. You can use paper, but you can use Play-Doh. Oops, it's PayPal. Play-Doh. You can use Play-Doh. It's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable to use this kind of clay. It's cheap. It does dry out, so you have to animate within a couple hours and then put it back in its container. You can't leave this out. A trick, however, is to use plastic wrap and cover your, spray it with a little water and then cover it with plastic wrap. You gotta be careful though, because it will create mold over time. So that's just another one in case you need to leave it and come back, all right? The other one, and we use this all the time. You guys are in the United States. It's called Plasticine. Plasticine is an oil-based or wax-based clay. I have clay here that I'm going to show you in a second that's actually made out of coconut oil. And I don't see it up on here. It's called Jolie clay. But there's the one in the United States that you have access to at all the art supplies stores. It's called Van Aken clay. Oops. Aken clay in the United States. And this clay here is perfectly fine. In fact, if you want to use any kind, this is probably the best one to use because it is formulated for animation, this clay tune. It's already ready to go. You can get multiple colors. You can make all sorts of action figures and crazy sculptures and stuff out of it. All right. So let's stop that share. Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to pull some clay out and we're going to start animating. Whoops, I have to turn this camera off and this light off for a second. Get to my stuff. Oh, that's not the box. Hold on. I got a bunch of clay here. It's going to drive me crazy. Ooh. Now, as an animator, I collect a lot of clay. Okay, I have a ton of it. And the reason I have a ton of it is because I never know when I'm going to have a project that requires clay. And also, I use clay pretty much in everything I do in some capacity. For instance, I may use blinks. I may do blinks and that kind of thing. And I use the clay to do the blinking. All right, here we are. Let's get this more even for you guys. There we go. All right. Now tomorrow I'm going to use a different software. I'm going to use Dragon Frame tomorrow because it'll be easier to explain things because you'll actually have a different type of timeline. So this is my Plastilina Modelina by Vinci. This is found in Mexico. And honestly, it is, the prices are really cheap in Mexico because this is, what is that, 50 cents for this clay. So let's do this exercise. All right, who wants to vote on a color? Somebody vote on a color. Pick any color. Blue, I got a blue. Anybody else? Blue, 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 red, red, yellow, blue. All right, I think we're going with blue. Give me a second to get a piece out of here. All right, I think that's maybe enough. I'm gonna squish it up. I'm gonna actually increase my light source a little bit more. There we go. All right, I got the blue. And my stuff is really soft. I mean, this stuff is super soft. I'm just gonna make a ball. And I'm gonna smush it. Boop. And I just want that circle, okay? And this is a really small circle. Let's see if we can get, this is my onion skinning, by the way. It's over on this side. Let's see if we can get it down. Come on. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. I'm being funny here. Sorry about that. So this is a grid over here, and then this is your onion skinning. We can control how many prior photographs, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I'm gonna use the grid here, and I'm gonna start here at the corner, and I'm gonna start by first taking one frame. Okay, I took my first frame, and you see it's right there, and then I'm gonna move it forward a little bit. This is called your hang time. I just moved it a little tiny bit, right? And if I move it out of place, I don't have to worry because I have this onion skinning that's showing me the original photograph right there. We can reverse this by going this way. You're supposed to be able to, at least. No, it's not going to give it to me. Go that way. There we go. And I can go towards the other one. There we go. So I can have my ghosting on the other one and my main one here, which I prefer to kind of be like that. All right. So the reason this is important is because as I do this, I can line up my next photograph. And what I want to do is I want to get like a bounce and a bounce off to the screen, right? And each time I'm going to move it a little bit more distance. All right. I'm going to cut here. Very big. Go about, let's go back a little bit more. There we go. I can actually see the ghosting a little better. There we go. And then I can really dramatically do it, right? We got a really big one, probably cut right to there. Yeah. Right at the hit. This is the hit right there. All right, let's play it back. Ready? Now we have our fall, a little hang time and a hit, hit, hit. Okay. Now the trick here is to move all the way to there, right? And then we're going to copy that to there, right? So you see, oops, I have the identical spacing, okay? And I'm just going to try to identify where I had gone before. I know that I was up in this region here. That's why that grid is useful. Take the photograph, and then we're going to go up to about right there. And then I'm going to go one more big one. And then I'm going to start slowing it down a little bit, maybe in half. And now I'm just going to keep cutting the timing in increments close to half each time. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, just a nice little shift over a little bit. Keep going. There we go, speeding it up a little bit more now. And as I move it bigger and bigger distances, you'll notice that it will speed up. Okay. All right, here we go, some big ones. Right there. My arc is a little off because I didn't draw it. Usually I like to draw where I'm going to put my animation when I'm doing exercises like this. I've done these so many times that winging it is fine for me. Might not be good for you. You might want to draw this out first. Bounce up again. There we go. Okay. One more big one. Slow it down. little bit. I'm gonna move it off the screen in just a second. And then done. Okay, here we go. Hit the loop. Whoops. No, I don't want to undo the frame. Sorry, it's already in loop. What am I saying? There we go. Should hit boom, boom. There we go. So now we have a little loop going on. Cool. Let's see what's going on. There's, yes, you can definitely do this with Hot Wheels, right? And so what this does is it allows us to see how the animation is working. This is 12 frames per second, right? And so as it's bouncing, it's a ball. And you can, I'm adding sound effects with my mouth, but you can add sound effects if you wanted. And it makes a nice little loop, right? And it gives you the illusion that it's actually moving, this little stop motion thing. Now, if we change this to 24 frames per second and we animated this on 2s, it would do the exact same thing, same speed. If we did 24 frames per second on 1s, we would actually have a faster movement, but we can take more photographs of this movement and we could simulate this. It will actually look a lot closer, all right? Let's do another one. All right, let's do another one. Stop that. And we're gonna go back. We're gonna do another exercise. This one is fairly simple. Same kind of thing. Let's dismiss that. We have to go into our settings again. And let me go. Oh, this is all wrong, sorry. This one here, cancel. Go back here, manual. Yeah, we're in that one. We're in this one. And I'm going to change my exposure. Focus is fine. Let's go back about right there. I think that's good. Yeah, that's good for now. Okay, so now I'm going to show you squash and stretch like that other exercise. So we're going to start from the top here. And I'm going to have the ball come down. Let me go to this hand. Ball come down, squish, and go back up. And as it's going down, it's going to elongate. Now I'm going to do this really fast. So you got to follow along really good, because what's going to happen is as I'm animating this, I'm going to start pulling it apart. Okay. So the first one is here, of course. One, go down a little bit. Just a little bit. 2 more. 3. We're going to speed it up. I'm going to go really fast. I'm going to go right here, squish it this way. Okay. Go even more. Right there. Squish it even more. Okay. That's right. Let's see. Back one frame. Oops, cancel. Nope, I don't want that. Just want to check it out. There we go. Just hit that. Make sure it's aligned. And then it's going to hit the ground and it's going to squish, right? And I can cheat. I can actually just turn it on its side. Take the photograph. Go back up. Boom. And then we'll shrink it down. I know I can just kind of squish it. Boom. There we go. Put it right about there. Go up a little bit more. Up one more time. All right, now let's play it back and see, because we have 12 frames. You see this? I have 12 frames now. So in fact, let's go back. Let's count these frames for 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see. This is actually frame 11. Let's give it one more hang time. I'm going to go one up. There we go. Let's make sure it's 12. So now we actually have a full second. Now let's play it back. You see, I have a little camera bump there. That I know what I did there. I actually pressed too hard on the iPad when I was taking a photograph. But you see that now I have a squash and stretch. And it goes and it hits and it squishes. And the elongation allows that illusion of a motion blur. Okay? So now we have a kind of a simulation of a motion blur going on. And we can do all sorts of fun things with this. So I'm going to do another one. Let's hit stop here. Okay. Let's do another one. And this time, I'm going to use the same ball. Let's go to our settings here, make sure I'm nice and bright. There we go. Yeah. And this time, I'm going to have it go across this way and come back. Okay. I used to have a nice little setup with the little monsters, and in this, it's called a smear technique, where you actually smear the characters. In fact, maybe let's just build something real quick for fun. I actually have a little guy here. I have a little guy here. Let me take the glasses off. He doesn't need the glasses. Let me find another set of eyeballs. Give me a second to find my eyeballs. Here we go. What color are those? We're gonna have to cheat a little bit because I don't have a color that matches that color, but I'll have 3, okay? And what we'll do is we'll use one eyeball to start with. Let's dirt off of here. We'll use one eyeball to start with. And let me see if I can find there we go. It's a nice little screwdriver. We'll do. Oh no, this is better. Sculpting Tools. Whoopsie. I have some sculpting tools here. This is from Sculpey. They make these, and they come right off. The little magnets, and it allows me to do all sorts of fun things. I have a little knife that I can cut the clay with. All right. You don't have to use metal. You can get wooden ones. Perfectly acceptable. Okay. And I'm going to kind of build my character here real quick. And we're going to just do one eyeball. We're going to cheat this. Okay. Let me just get a nice little circle going on. Okay. And I'm just going to squish this guy down here like that. And I'm going to add an eyeball right in the middle. Okay. Let's put an eyeball right there. We're going to stick it like that. Okay. A little creepy. We'll call him Creepy. That's his name. That's his little name. And we have this line here where I can actually follow along. I don't have to stress so much about it. The focus might be a little off for you guys, but it's focused in mine. Let's see if I can give you a better focus this way. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Make sure I move my tools off the table. We don't want those there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get rid of that piece, and a little schmegma, some stuff. All right. I'm going to. There we go. This takes a little bit more time because we actually have to. Oops, done. There we go. Record. 1. I'm going to hold him there for just a second. Did 2 photographs. And move him a little tiny bit. And a little bit more. Let's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go about right here. We'll go about right there. And then I'm going to go here. Okay. Now check this out. This is what gets really crazy. Remember that squash and stretch? I'm going to go here. I'm going to squish him a little bit. Squish him out a little bit more. I'm going to move the first eyeball. See, I removed the eyeball. And I'm going to do this. Hold on. Make a ball again. I'm going to smush it kind of relative to the same size. And I'm going to smush it this way. Pull him this way. Okay. Let's go back a little bit like that. There we go. I'm going to stick 2 eyeballs on him. Right. About right there. Take a photograph.
And then, now we're going to do 3 eyeballs. Squish, elongate them even more. So elongate like that. 1, 2, 3. We're cheating because we're using the blue one. I don't have another brown one like that. Record. And then we're going to go back to the 2s. Those to the side there. Make my ball again. Squish my ball. Elongate it. Kind of get relative to that size there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's just an exercise. We'll go here. About right there. Now stick the eyeballs back in there. Okay, whoops, like this. Take the photograph. Remove that. Remove the eyeballs again. And now the trick here is, this is the weird thing. The trick here is to actually squish it. Figure out what we did before. Now, it's really helpful to draw these out if you can. Mr. Creepy, he's got to have his eyeballs a little crooked, actually. There we go. Let's go like that. Let's play it back real quick to see what's going on. There we go. All right, so we take this one here. And we're gonna, if we look back, we have this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so we need 6 movements. So we got 1. There's our first one. We'll go here. This is gonna be 2. Remember, it's a big movement. Big movement like that. Kind of like half. 2, 3, 4, and then we can actually just kind of want it a little tiny bit and take 2 photographs. All right, let's play it back. Now what you got there is the illusion of a blur, right? There's a blur going on. Now check this out. Let's change the frame rate. Remember how I was telling you 12s and 24s frames per second? Check this out. You want to speed that up. We can go here and we can actually change the 2 times 12 is 24, right? So now what we're doing is we're speeding up the speed by 2 or double. Right? Let's get a little loop going on. Should be looping. Let's see if I can get back into the loop. Playback. There we go. Loop. Done. Cool, huh? Now that is what you see in like the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. This is exactly what they used to do in Bugs Bunny or even in Tom and Jerry. I don't know if you guys watch those things anymore. They also do this in Adventure Time. Adventure Time is one of my favorite animations. So yeah, I love it. Right. Oh, cool. Great to hear that the Hot Wheels one that you did is really good. That's awesome. All right. Any questions so far? Let me stop the share. Okay. Oops, no, I'm doing the wrong thing here. Sorry. Okay, so you can do this with clay and you can do this with paper. Always remember, you're just basically doubling and tripling and quadrupling the amount of movement that you have in the animation. All right. Now, this is the very bare bones basics of animation principles. Tomorrow we're going to do some really cool stuff. Also, I will probably demonstrate a few things to you. One of the things that I want to show you right now is and it's good that LS is using Hot Wheels, because I'm going to show you a Hot Wheels kind of example of what I would do with Hot Wheels. let me stop this real quick. Stop. Boom. Okay. Share screen. Let's go here. I'll share my screen with you. Let's close this down. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go to Untitled. Let's go to Stop Motion University courses and beginners animation. And I'm teaching you some of the stuff that actually I teach my adult students, just so you know. Okay. Now, what happens if you have more than one object in a scene? Okay. This is a very technical exercise that I teach the adult students. This is done at 24 frames per second. But what's going on is it shows you basically multiple objects being animated at the same time. So the idea here is to animate one object. You number them. Okay, so this, let's say the red car is 1. This blue car, let's go back. Red car is 1, blue car is 2, center car is 3. So when we're doing the animation, we focus on the animation in that movement, in that order. So red car goes 1, blue car goes 2, this green car goes 3. And you keep going, and that's how you animate multiple objects. You keep track of your movements by making sure you move that same object first, then second, then third. And then you can get one of these kind of exercises to do. Now, for me to animate this for you in the live is a little bit more difficult, because in all honesty, when you're doing this kind of animation with more complex objects, it's like this juggling technique. It needs to be planned out. And the reason it needs to be planned out is because you'll have cars crashing into each other. Okay. So this is really helpful to draw these images out in advance. Okay. One of the cool things that you can do is you can get a free software online. What is it called? Oh, I think it's called Procreate. It's an iPad app, or you can get a software called Sketchbook, which is this one here. And this one, it will work on almost everything. Hold on, let me open my little pad here. And what it does, let me change, is it's a drawing software. So I can just draw all day long. Okay, it looks like I'm not connected for some reason. My screen's not enjoying itself. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. You can use something like this to plan out your artwork. We'll go new flip book. We'll make it 24 or 12 frames per second. Sure, done. Okay, I'm gonna actually change this to 12. And I like to draw out my animations. So for instance, and I have my different layers, my foreground, my midground. It allows me to draw, and then I have a background, which is always permanent. But what happens is I can draw my objects, and I can number them 1, 2, 3, and I can go to the next frame, and I can go 1. Oops, and I need my onion skinning, forgive me. 2, 3, right? 1, oops, 2, 3. And I can just go through and I can just keep drawing. Now I'm doing this fast, so the sizes are all wrong, so forgive me, but it allows me to plan the things out and not have to worry about if I'm messing up, because I can always go back and fix them. And then we go here, whoops, Apple Z. Do it really quick. 1, 2, I see I have a little mess up there. It's okay, I'm gonna live with it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll get all of them for you real quick. 1, 2, 3. Then we got a 1, 2, 3, and then finally the last ones. 1, whoops, 2, 3. Now this isn't a loop, but we're going to loop it. So play it back for you. You see that? Let's loop it. There we go. And so I can draw out my animations ahead of time if I want to. I don't have to just use the iPad, so I can just plan out my animation just in case. I can say, oh, I want my character here, here, here. And then I can go back and export this and look at these as pictures. All right. Now this is this can get really complicated really fast. And I just want to warn you ahead of time. I don't want you to kind of be like, oh no, I can't do that. You absolutely can draw pictures. Okay, what did I do? Racing animation. Nice. Yeah, Transformers stop motion can be very hard. Action figures are probably some of the hardest things to animate. So that being said, I hope you guys are ready to, I'm gonna turn my light on for the room. Actually, I'll turn this on here. Let's turn this off. Oh, my window here real quick, and I'll share my little video of me here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up for a, stop this. I'm going to set up for an action figure. So, and the problem that we're going to have here, unfortunately, is that I'm not going to be able to use the iPad. So I'm actually going to open up what's called Dragon Frame, and we're going to use my web camera. But you don't have to worry. You can use an iPad or an iPhone. You do need a stand. So you're going to need a stand for this to actually work. And this is one of the things sorry, adjusting my camera here. One of the things I don't teach right away. And the reason I don't do this is because many people don't have camera stands like this. This is just a tripod that you hook your camera onto. I also have what's called a boom arm, which I can use to move my camera around for teaching purposes. But I can also use it for animation, as long as it's not attached to the table. So let's move this off of there. Get rid of our little creepy guy. Give me a second here. Let me clean up because I don't want to have a mess all over the place. All right. And we're going to talk about Legos. Okay, so you see Lego animation a lot. And what happens with Lego animation is that you're very limited to what you can do with a character movement-wise, okay? Now, the Legos usually have a platform to sit on, like a little tray thing. And you have to literally take him off of there, move him a little bit, you know, and you can get little walk cycles going, you know. There is a thing called a walk cycle. And walk cycles, and you'll see people do this all the time in Lego animation. They will literally move the character and have the arms up and down straight. Now, characters don't move like that. I mean, they can. You can just do that all day long and just have the arms straight up and down. That's fine, but that's not how we walk. When we walk, we actually, I have to clear the screen, clear the area here. I have clay, a big box of clay. But as I walk, I will actually swing my arms opposite, right? So a walk cycle, this is called a walk cycle. This is actually kind of advanced, but for Legos, it's not that advanced. But you put arm forward, lean forward. So every time you move the leg, you move the opposite hand, right? So we're gonna do that really quickly. And then I'll open up some questions and we can actually explore some things too. So I have that on right now. I'm gonna set my light here and plug it back in. Turn it on. Unfortunately, we're at a weird angle. Remember, you always need a light. You're gonna always need a light to do your animation. If you don't have a light, your exterior light is gonna be your influence, okay? So just keep that aware. And by the way, one last thing too, I can't show you the animation because it's actually really graphic, it's really gory, but a friend of mine named Max Winston, he animated completely outside and he had to deal with the sky. There's one I could show you, but we wouldn't be able to play it because I can send you a link. But the Kristen Lepore, who's also a friend of mine, she animated snowmen and sandmen, and she did all exterior, so the lights were changing constantly. It looks really cool, but you have to be aware you're gonna have flicker, right? So let's plug this in again. All right, close this up. And we're gonna go here. This way. And it's helpful, by the way, to stick a little bit of tape underneath. Use a little masking tape if you want to keep it in place. I'm just gonna use one little piece because I don't need to use a ton of it. One little piece just needs to stay in its spot. So now it will move less. Now remember, I have a problem because I have a cardboard table on a wobbly table, a cardboard stage on a wobbly table. So this wobbly table is like I said, a no-no because it'll cause the wobble. But we're gonna have to live with it today for what we got. All right, so let's attempt a walk cycle with Legos. I'm going to open Dragonframe. Let me share my screen with you really quick. Do desktop. Close this. This is called Sketchbook Pro, by the way. It's free. You can get it for your computer. Don't save. Close that out. There we go. And I'm going to go to Dragonframe right here, Dragonframe 4. All right, new scene. Let's just call it Lego. Lego. Yep. And we're going to go to 500. Let's say, what is it called? Okay, open. Okay, and it's going to see my USB camera right here. Let me change some settings here so we can actually have the best settings possible. View settings. Go there. Apply. Okay. And I'm not going to mess with anything else because there's a bunch of other settings that I could. Live view width limit preferences. Escape. Hold on. Capture. View settings. Oh, it's in playback, I think. Playback. That doesn't matter. I'll just increase the size. Okay. So I'm not going to get too heavy into describing what's going on. I'll leave this down here. This is a timeline. That's down here. And then I can actually go here and just do a test photograph. And so I can actually switch between my camera and my live view. So if I put my thing here, see, live. Okay, so we're all set, we're ready to go. And the first things first, I'm gonna stick my little character here. Okay. Take a photograph real quick. All right, and then let's make sure my onion skinning is up. And now I'm gonna take him, actually take a couple frames, 1, 2, there we go. And I playback is at 12 frames per second. So I'm gonna remember where that is. And we're gonna lean that leg forward. We're gonna do the opposite arm. Remember where he was about right there, I believe. Oh, I should have marked it. Yeah, there we go. We can, that's his. Okay, and then we're gonna might have to slow the speed down a little bit because I'm gonna probably, it's probably gonna go super fast. Okay, let's make sure he's right. Okay. And then I'm gonna swing. There's always an in between. Honestly, it's always like an in-between right there. And then we're gonna go one more. Opposite arm. This one goes back. Okay, so we got this going on. Actually jumped a couple bricks there. I didn't mark where I was starting at. You always want to mark that first one, but we're good. So go forward. There we go. And I'm going to do the center here. And then what was the last one I had? This one, that one, and then we'll do the other one. 2, 3. And this is the right leg. Okay. This one goes back. That one goes forward, right? And then we push him forward and we do this. He's back to normal. Okay, so you get the concept here. We're just swinging by. Now, if I lowered the frame rate, this is what's interesting is I can lower it down to 8. And we can actually get a interesting movement where we can cheat the walk cycle. And I have flicker going on. You see that flicker? That is caused by the web camera and the auto adjust that's in the software. So I actually have something, remember when I was telling you about putting your hand in front of a shot and you get that weirdness for the settings? In Dragon Frame, I have auto exposure on. I want to turn that off. I turn auto white balance off and kind of adjust it. Actually, we can use the auto white balance, I think. That should be fine, actually. But the auto exposure is the problem. Apply. There we go. And then now let's do another take so we can actually see proper one. Okay, I'm gonna start at this position. Let me make sure I'm in the right one. Let me mark it with a little piece of clay or something, so I know what square we're starting at. There we go. That is the right foot. Okay, so I'm just using a little marker here to mark where I'm starting at. So start here, take a frame, I'll kick this one forward. Again, that one forward, and the arm goes back. So you see the position? All right, do this. And then I'll move it forward again. This back foot is actually the lead off foot. It's weird to call it that, but that's exactly what it is. All right, and then we get a passing position where everything is straight. I didn't do this in the last exercise, in the last piece, because usually I like to warm up. So we have back, and then the next foot is passing position. Next foot is the right leg forward, right arm back, left arm forward. Okay, lean him forward, touch down, bring the arms down a little bit more. Now we have to do the left leg forward. There we go, left arm back, right arm forward. All right, and then we can lean him forward and have the left, there we go. Bring it back down, okay. And now we'll stop him right there. Okay, so here's a basic walk. I see I'm missing one spot right here. Oops, I got this wrong. Boom. Boom. I missed that one right there. Let me go back and delete some of those because those look ugly. So go back. One. That one gets deleted. Okay. We're here. And then let's go back to this. And there it is. He's 2 steps back right there, right? Yeah, perfect. So what happened was I doubled up his leg on the wrong side. His left leg, so we go here, left leg down, and then he's there. Now his right leg needs to go forward. I miscalculated. Right leg goes forward, right arm goes forward. That one. There we go. And yes, we do make mistakes in animation. That's why that delete button's there. It happens. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. In fact, it's good that you see my mistakes and see that I can correct it. So that way, if you get frustrated, you can always know that you can change something without having to be married to it. Life is full of mistakes, but we don't always have those reset buttons. So learn to forgive yourself with the animation. It's not that difficult. You can always fix something. And the beauty about animation is you can always redo it. So until it gets better. Okay, so let me get that little walk cycle there. There we go. This will look a lot better. Here we go. There you go. And you can see my tables bouncing around, my color, my white balance is shifting, but that's okay. So you see that's a basic walk cycle for a Lego action figure. Now, why is that important? Well, the majority of Lego animation that you see on the internet is walk cycles, a bunch of characters walking around. So if you wanted to do any kind of Lego animation, right there, that's the majority of all the work that you're going to be doing. Beyond that, it's storytelling. Beyond that, it's compositing and editing. Well, editing, not necessarily compositing, and adding sound and building your stories. There's all sorts of those kind of things going on. So I'm going to stop the share there. Give me 1 second here. Let me turn the curtain on. All right. Let me see if you guys have any questions at all, because we have about 7 minutes left, and I want to make sure I answer any kind of questions that you have, because I'm sure you're gonna get to a spot where you're gonna be like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do that. So, okay. And then Melissa said bye, so you had to leave. So no questions so far? No? Okay. Dan doesn't have any questions. Okay. Yes, you can show some of your stop motions if you want. I don't know if I think you should be able to share. Do you have a link on YouTube? See, LS is asking that. Okay, well, okay, no worries. So I think LS has to turn on.
So John, you think people should just practice what they've worked on today for tomorrow? Do you think that's the best thing?
Yeah, they can do that. I have a little show and tell I can show them right now. LS, you can stay. You can show us tomorrow what you have if you want. I'm going to show some armatures so that I can talk to you about how professionals build characters. So thank you, Jesse, by the way. And then tomorrow, I'm going to show you little mouth shapes. So, okay, here we go. We have a question. If you are done, if you're doing a movement that resembles something we would do in real life, like a walk cycle, do you sometimes take a video of yourself doing that for reference? Yes. There's 2 techniques. So the first is you can just videotape yourself all day long and change the frame rate for the video capture and then copy that. So that's actually a really good way of using reference. But the problem is you got to remember what your frame rate is that you caught that video at, because if you start doing animation at 12 frames per second and your video is at 30 frames per second, you're going to have a difference. So you'll probably need to animate on ones if you're shooting at 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. That's kind of how that works. We do that a lot professionally. I personally convert my videos to do 2 frames per second, not 12 frames per second. That way I can actually follow along. The other way is to draw pictures and draw animation out. You can draw the animation out. Don't be afraid of that. You can actually, what's fun is you can sit there all day long. If you don't want to use Sketchbook, you can use a piece of paper and draw out, or a stack of paper and draw out the animation for the timing and stick it underneath your down shooter and take photographs using your iPad. And that's called a pencil test. And we do that a lot also. It's an interesting technique where we get into breaking down the movement in our head more than watching a video, because a lot of times in the video, we may miss something. So for instance, when a hand does a walk cycle, I'll show you real quick, a hand will do this flowing back and forth, right? So we get this motion, but we also get what's called a kick. So in a kick, and I actually have the animation. Let's see if I actually, I'll show you. It's fairly straightforward. Oh, desktop. stop that. That's kind of trippy. Let me show you an animation that as I have a character animation class that I'm actually teaching after this class. Run cycles, here we go. So if you see here, this is not in a loop. Let's see if I can find a loop for you. That's the bounce walk, human walk cycle conversions. This is on 2s. This is a basic hand-drawn cycle. Go back to the other one, and I could show you. So for instance, with this one, this kick in the back, and there's a kick in the front. See that blue foot? That kicks in the front. So these both kick. This is for a run cycle. And we have the arms that swing, and the arms can dictate different things. And so why would I draw this out as opposed to videotaping is because I can miss things when I'm videotaping. So what I'll do is I'll videotape first, and then I'll draw. But this is a basic run cycle. This is, if you look these up, you can find these online. In fact, you can find quite a bit. If we go to online and we look at what's called run cycle examples, we can find examples of those positions. So you can actually go online and look and say, oh, okay, this is this, this is that. Now these are key poses, and a key pose is a pose where somebody's drawing. There's actually quite a few poses in between. Something like this will actually give you quite a few. And if this guy here does quite a few, he actually labels, this is Richard Williams. He labels the numbers at which each pose is at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those are the poses. So if you're going to do things like walk cycles and run cycles, it's good to have reference. It's important. Okay. So yes, answer your long story short. Yes, that's kind of that. Let me show you some examples of some armatures. This is something that we're not going to build in our class, because if we build this, it requires all sorts of materials and stuff like that. I actually have a whole course that I teach that's just focused on this kind of building. But the inside of a puppet, a lot of times, is made out of wire. So if you see stuff on television shows, stop motion puppets, if you remember the old Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they're made out of a mix between wire armatures and ball and socket armatures. This is a wire armature. And then we can always stick heads on these characters. This is done with an oven-baked clay. It's called Sculpey. This is Sculpey. Okay. And the reason why we would bake that is a hard character will actually allow us to be able to touch it without smushing the head. So you can do quite a bit with oven-baked clay and regular clay. Tomorrow, I'm going to actually animate for you and demonstrate clay animation techniques, because you need to be able to do stuff which will allow you very low cost and be able to do quite a bit. We can make our own clay out of flour and baking soda. So pretty cool. Yeah, Leica does a lot of facial animation replacement. I actually have replacement mouths for you tomorrow. I'm going to show you those as well. So it's going to be cool. We're going to make some eyeballs. We're going to do all sorts of fun stuff. And then finally, this is the last thing I'll show you. This is a ball and socket armature. This is a professionally made ball and socket armature. And each joint is posable. So I use this in my next class to teach the students how to do character animation. So we can get those poses. And the rigidity versus the wire, which is very soft, allows for more precise animation. So yeah, I guess that concludes our class. It's 1:30 now. If there's no other questions, I guess we can resolve the class and